Hit play, let's see.
Welcome to another episode of the Texas Authors TV show.
Discover new authors, discover great books, any genre you love. Come take a look, hosted by fellow authors. Real talk, real spark, quick fun spotlights right from the start. Watch it anytime, share it when you do. Texas Authors TV.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Texas Authors TV show. And today we have with us Laurence Wensel, who has a wide background in theater, writing, and a whole bunch more. And so we'll welcome Laurence, and let's start off with tell us a little bit about who you are and what got you go.
Thank you so much for the invitation. And let's see a little bit about myself. I am an individual that was born and raised in the Frontera, or also known as the borderlands of specifically in Laredo, Texas. And what got me into writing is the next question. Yes. I would say that it was more about happenstance. I came into writing when I was at a really low point in my life. And so I was in Laredo, Texas, and a friend said, "Hey, there's this group. Their name is Teatro Chicano de Laredo, and you need to go join them and you need to go help them." And so I did. And so as I'm helping them, I participated in their playwriting program and actually wrote my first play and actually got it produced. And so one of the things that happened there is that I learned about the healing nature of writing. And so I was that could have been a moment of inspiration, but more so after that, I was like, I want to continue doing this. I want to know more about this. And I was able to attend Goddard College and achieved an MFA in creative writing, did their thesis dissertation. And then I came home, and again, a situation of coincidence. The group that I had worked with, Teatro Chicano de Laredo, had disbanded, and their CEO was despondent. He had lost all their plays. The group was no longer together, and I said, "Where's your laptop? Let me see your laptop." And in doing so, he was a little reticent at first. I said, "Don't worry about it. All I'm going to do is I'm going to look and do word searches because you probably misfiled it. You probably mislabeled it. Knowing you, because you never throw anything away." And his name is Carlos Nicolas Flores, a fellow Chicano author and writer, wonderful man. And I took his laptop, and within about 30 to 40 minutes, boom, there are all their plays in one collection, in one folder, mislabeled, just like I told him it would. And he said, "How can I repay you?" And he's jumping up and down in excitement. And I said, "Let me take this. I've got to return and go get the PhD. Let me take this and let this be the cornerstone of my studies. It'll add to a gap that's in Chicano studies, especially in theater. You're doing something very particular, right, in a very specific area." I said, "I think this might help get me in the foot in the door. It'll allow me to go study, and then we'll write it. And then if we're lucky, after graduation, we'll get it published, right?" So he did. And so I took all the plays with me, went off to UT Dallas in 2018, went through their course of study and wrote the dissertation and defended it successfully, of course, and graduated. And then it took about 6 or 8 months of applying to different publishers, right? And trying to get this critical play anthology to be published, which is a rarity. It doesn't always happen. They used to do it a lot in the past, but not so much anymore. And then Rutledge stepped forward and said, "We will pick you up and we will work with you." And it took me about, let's see, 12, 14, probably about 16 months to go through their editing process with them and to get the book in order and ready to be published. And that is how I became. And so, yes, on April the 22nd, 2026, my book was officially published. And that's when I became an author.
So I want to go back a little bit here because in the aspect of the Chicano playwright and things of that nature, a lot of people seem to have this feeling that it all starts in New York. It all has that Chicano or
Mhm.
Puerto Rican or Latin influence there. But there is a good amount here in Texas. Is that not right?
That is very true. When you look at the major centers, major city centers around Texas, there is a lot of theater that is being produced, both how can profit, nonprofit, and then various groupings, right, that might be either of Latin or Chicano or Mexican identity or even African American or there's so many. And so but for the borderlands, the frontera, which is the cities along the Texas-Mexico border, this is a first to have that. Are there, like for example, in Laredo, Texas, are there theaters? Yes, but they produce mainly popular plays or entertainment plays. And so here we have a group of writers writing about the experience of what it means to be a citizen on the border, writing those stories, putting them into plays, putting them on the stage. And so it's original works that have never been seen before. And so, yeah, it doesn't
This
have,
collection,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
this collection you have has how many plays in it?
It has 23 in total from 17 different authors. And what's great about the book is that the first and foremost, it collects all the group together, right? Preserves them. And then the next part is that we provide, or I provided, bilingual translation. So even if you are monolingual and you don't know Spanish, the text on the left is the script, and on the right hand is the interpretation in English. So now it's opening up to a wider audience. You don't have to be bilingual. You can be monolingual, and you'll be able to access it. And then not only that, it's paired with scholarly discussion on my end. So each chapter, there's 5 chapters in total. So each chapter has discussion from my end through a scholarly gaze.
Has this ever been done before where you've had both Spanish and English versions?
No, this is a first. And I say that I looked back at a lot of other anthologies in the past, especially Chicano anthologies, and usually it was the first portion of the book was the scholarly part, and then the plays were listed next, and the plays were just dropped in there without any, footnotes, like in Chicago or anything like that, or any endnotes, or very few translations, if any, at all, if possible. So this is a first for us. Yeah.
And other than the fact that you were with this group and you've written your own play, what experience did you get as a writer from creating this?
That is a good question.
Because earlier you mentioned that you were doing your MFA and you
Right.
realized how writing was very beneficial
Mhm.
for you. But was it the same with this book, or was it something totally different?
It was a little bit different, and because when I did the MFA for Goddard College, it really was more about my experience and my getting into writing and my finding a way to heal and like get myself back up on my feet and start walking and start living again. The second time around with the PhD, it had very little to do with me. It had to do with the wonderful writers that were a part of the group. Does that make sense? Like, because I also had to work with all these different playwrights. And so it affected me profoundly. I used to feel for the longest time as a citizen of the frontera or the borderlands, especially from Laredo, Texas, sort of like as an outsider. Like I didn't belong, like I just don't fit in, and there's no, connections. And I can promise you, with the wonderful playwrights that I've worked with this anthology, one of the things I've learned is that I'm not ahead of them, I'm not behind them, I'm right there side by side, and we're sharing stories about what it means, to live and survive on the border, the borderlands in Texas. And so it shaped me differently because it was no longer necessarily about me, it was about them. And through that discourse and through those discussions about translation and how are we going to phrase this and how are we going to write that, I found a commonality. And all of a sudden that uneasiness, that feeling of distance and not belonging melted away from working with them.
Okay. This is a perfect time for us to stop, let our sponsors do their thing, and we'll be right back.
Authors deserve more than random advice, expensive promises, and services that disappear after the invoice is paid. That is why Bourgeois Media and Consulting created the Authors Success Center. Since 2001, we have been helping authors find direction, build credibility, gain visibility, and keep moving forward. Through reviews, ratings, verification, workshops, resources, and community, ASC gives writers practical tools for a stronger author journey. Authors Success Center, honest guidance, practical tools, real opportunities for authors.
And welcome back to this edition of the Texas Authors TV show. We are with Laurence Wensel, who has written a compilation and anthology of plays, specifically Chicano oriented. Out of the 23 that you have in there, is there one that stood out as a favorite for you?
Oh, that might be dangerous waters there, because I want to say they are all my favorite. But I will say this: when you look at the work that covers these 4 years for the group, the first 2 years, what they did is they borrowed from Luis Valdez's actos, or the acts, which are those political pieces of theater that are easy to transport right out into the community in order to get the message. In this case, from the 1965, to try to grow the unions, to let them know about the disparities of the agricultural farms and so forth, to get that out there. So they borrowed that form and then they put it into the place of the frontera, right, the borderlands, and to see what happens there. And originally their works were really about criticizing the structures that sort of silenced them. But it's also a testament of movement, of people that are moving across borders that are both real and imagined. You know, what happens when two people meet, or two languages come together, two strangers, two neighbors, when geographies overlap, right? And then that indelible mark that happens in between, that interaction between us and the other person. And then after 2010, so that's 2009, 2010, they started expanding on the form and going into territories of 1 acts, 2 acts, and started gearing towards full-length plays, which is for another discussion. And I would say that that's probably my favorite part, or favorite era, or part of it, the latter part, because now they're taking the form and they're breaking the rules and they're starting to take chances and take risks. One of the plays that comes to mind is called Bridges, which originally was a set of monologues that dealt with a father's death. When it was first written, it was just one monologue after the other, and it was boring. And so what they did is they put all the monologues on the floor and they cut them, not instinctively, but like with precision, and then put them back together like a broken, glass, like a menagerie. And then all of a sudden, finding the what do you call it, the connections between the stories, made me as a passive theater goer or whatever to become active because I'm listening to the stories and I'm trying to connect the dots between the two. And it became, and but so by using that non-linear format, it became this beautiful homage about what it means when a Mexican American son comes home back to Mexico to say goodbye to his father who's passed away and who dares to say the three most scary words, I love you, without any worry of like being hit or being told that that's wrong or anything like that. So it's a beautiful love story or a eulogy to that playwright's father who had passed. And so when they do that, when they experiment and when they break the rules and when they go beyond the form of the actos, that's when it becomes my favorite.
Now, if I understand correctly, and please correct me, it sounded as if all these playwrights that you
Mhm.
pulled together are still currently alive.
Yes and no. In the collection, there is a play called Abduction by Margie Cortez, and unfortunately, she passed away 2 years ago. And we miss her greatly. I just spoke with her daughter recently, and we were able to get her 2 copies of the book because they both contributed plays. And I never got to meet her. I got there after she left the group. And but I know for a fact, I know this for a fact, her play was performed. It's called Abduction, and it had its opening night. And at the end of the play, there was this astounding ovation. You know, everybody up on their feet, just clapping hard, hard as they can. I can't remember how long it lasted. And I wish that she would have been there. I wish that um, she wasn't there because she got into a fight with her daughter, but I think she knew the profound effect that her work had on the audience. And so, but so out of the 17, there's actually, one of us, she passed away and we miss her. So,
With this anthology, and I realize it's still fairly new, it only came out in April of this year,
mhm.
seeing any opening of having this book out there where people are now experiencing or learning about these playwrights and are starting to want to perform those?
Not yet. We're getting there. I have several activities coming up. I've got to plan a book launch at Barnes and Noble, which is opening September 30th in Laredo, Texas. So I've got to reach out to them. I'm going to have a book event on the Day of the Dead that I have to plan. I've applied to 2 exhibits to bring the artwork that goes along with these plays. To the forefront so that I can talk about them and promote them. So we're still in our infancy, but let's see, what can I say about that? I know that once we get out there to Laredo and we have that book event at that Barnes and Noble, that'll be a defining mark because we're all going to be there and we're all going to be able to sign the books and you're going to be able to ask us all questions. It won't just be me talking or promoting the book. It'll be all of us together. So I'm looking forward to it.
That's great. Well, I hope you record it because I'm sure that'll be a fascinating conversation.
Oh yeah, I'll be sure to do that.
Now that you've gotten this one pretty much done, the initial launch and stuff, are you looking to do another anthology?
Yes, that's one of the other reasons, of course, for um, having a book launch and having events and so forth, and participating in exhibitions. Because I kid you not, I have already gotten in a folder on my on my desktop enough material for a second volume. There's 3 full-length plays and 4 short plays that didn't make it into this anthology. That's another story within itself. But we had to find a stopping point because if not, the book as a dissertation would have been too long. The book as a, what do you call it? As a proposal for publishing would have been too long. Because it's, let me see, it's 400. I'm surprised that, yeah, 437 pages right here. You know, And we had to find that we did that stopping point because we knew that if we did a volume 2, there will be 3 full-length plays, 4 short plays, and again another opportunity for scholarly discussion and also translation for myself. So we're hoping to have enough sales so that we can turn around. The publisher knows. We just need to convince them that we're ready for a volume 2. So
Yeah, I'm sure once the um, initial book signing is done there at the first part of November, you'll have great sales and they'll be really eager to help support you.
yeah.
Um, with doing this and understanding these are all plays and things that you've done, has it gotten you sparking interest doing something, writing something totally different or anything? Have any ideas come out of these?
Yes, it has. And in fact, one of the ideas that's on my back burner is a hybrid memoir that blends my artwork along with my storytelling. And I want to fuse the two together to do that project. And it's starting. I've got a chapter outline. But I'm starting to work on the text first, and then I'll work on the visuals later. And it would be a memoir or a hybrid memoir about my life. So
All right. This is a perfect spot for us to stop and let our sponsors do their thing. We'll be right back.
Hit play, let's see. Texas Authors TV. Discover new authors, discover great books, any genre you love, come take a look. Hosted by fellow authors, real talk, real spark, quick fun spotlights, right from the start. Watch it anytime, share it when you do. Texas Authors TV.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of the TV. We have Laurence Wensel with us, who is a playwright himself, more anthology style. That's his first collection, but he's also written stories through his MFA program and lots of other things. We left off where you were thinking of doing a story about yourself. Are there any other ideas that are brewing in the back of your mind?
Not yet. I am actively trying to promote the book. I just got invited to a symposium for theater performances in October, and my hope is to go and to participate in all the events that I can, and then write something scholarly to help promote them and to sort of preserve their work as well. So we'll see how that turns out. That's also on the back burner. Yeah.
If anybody watching wants to learn more about you and about the book and stuff, do you have a website?
I do. I have a website. It's www.lawrence-wensel-mfa.com. You can find me on Instagram with the tag name at Just Laurence. So at JUSTLAURENCE. And it's the same for Threads, if they've got that one as well. And I'm also on Facebook. So easy to find.
You mentioned earlier that you're going to be doing a couple of book signings at the end of October and stuff. Do you have other events planned that people can go to your website and learn about?
I will post them as soon as I start solidifying those. I've got 2 more people to meet with, 2 more And then, and then I have to wait for responses of yes, like come in and be a part of us or come and do a presentation. But I will update it on the website. It'll be on the first page, once you click on it, so that they'll be able to know when and where the events are taking place, and they can come join us.
Wonderful. Out of curiosity, and I always ask this of our writers and stuff, with what you've done, and if somebody else wanted to do an anthology of plays and stuff of that nature, what words of advice would you?
Oh goodness. Let's see. What would I advise? I would say keep an eye out for what happens more often than not, especially in theater and in performance, is that there'll be this like plethora or this diversity of performance. And then what's going to happen is there's only going to be a select few. So keep an eye out for the ones that are being ignored or overlooked. It happens, right? The academic gaze, comes and goes in waves. And if there's something that is either filling the gap or adding to the voice of what is theater or what is performance, or you see that they're just being overlooked, or you want to help to memorialize them or help them to have some kind of eternity beyond the performance, then definitely go see as much theater as you can. Take notes, look for opportunities to contribute, right? To write about them, because if not, they'll get lost. And I'll give you an example, and this will probably hopefully excite some readers. There are several collections, anthology collections of Holocaust theater. I know that there's many more plays out there. I know it. But in those anthologies, right, that are out there, there's about 16 plays. Out of those 16 plays, maybe 6 of them have gotten the academic gaze or the writing about them, about their performance or what they're about. There's about 11 other plays there that have never gotten written or discussed or explored. And we're coming across the 100-year anniversary sooner than later. And I would hate for those plays to be lost somewhere in the library and not have their day, by having someone come in and write about them and write about what those plays are and why they're important and so forth. And so there's going to be gaps everywhere. So find those gaps, or bring a new perspective. And let's make sure that these art pieces are not lost, because that's where it began, right? Part of my goal was to preserve their works and then to provide translation, and then even more importantly, to discuss about them in a scholarly manner. Because if not, because I'll tell you the truth, they had 2 offers before even I got my offers for publishing. One of them said, "Oh, we'll just put you in the database." And I said, "No, how about we make an ebook? That way it's an electronic book. We can have the sales and then we can have it for print." "Oh no, we just want to take your plays and put them in the database." And I said, "No, they'll get lost and nobody will see them unless they're looking for them." So that went out the window. And then there was a press who shall remain nameless who said, "Hey, we love the work, but we want the top 15 out of the 23. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't do that. It's all or nothing. If I take out any of them, or if I come back to them and say, hey, we need the top 15 out of the 23, they will all jump and they'll be gone and they'll tear up their contracts. And I said, so why don't we do this? Why don't we keep the collection together? And then you provide a link for my scholarly work somewhere online, right after purchasing the book or whatever. And they said, hey, that's not a bad idea, right? Let's go ahead and have that happen. And that was a lie. By 7 o'clock the next morning, they already had a rejection letter ready to go. And I'm glad that I stuck it out, because then the week after, that's when I heard from Rutledge, and they took it, the whole thing as a whole, with some minor alterations here and there for the introduction and the conclusion. So.
Well, you definitely experienced what a lot of writers experience, that rejection, that if and or but, and so much more and stuff.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for being with us this evening for the show, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much for the time. And by the way, before I let you go, the name Perambulations isn't just by accident. the framework of the way that I organize the plays in the collection. It's like a flaneur walking through, and what they're doing is they're exploring and interacting and observing and being a part of something they've never necessarily been a part of before. So the name Perambulations isn't just by chance. It's us asking you to come in and to learn these stories and to witness and experience these stories that are coming from the frontera/borderlands. So thank you so much for your time.
Texas Authors TV is produced by B. Allen Bourgeois for the Texas Authors Museum. Copyright 2026. If you would like to become a sponsor, please email us at texasauthors@outlook.com. If you would like to be on the show, please email us at texasauthors@outlook.com. Music is Frolic of Words, created for the show by Happy.